welcome to Jesus for Asia Now. I'm Natalie Wood and my husband John is here with me today. Hello, love.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited about this show.
Yes.
It's about our evening schools, and we always love to tell the stories from the evening schools, and then we get to see pictures and video of the children.
Yes.
So I'm excited about that. What is our story today?
Well, we have two stories, one from South India, and this is a young man who, well, you're going to have to hear his story, but it's really amazing and involves his entire family.
Okay, before we start with the stories, would you like to share what an evening school is?
Yeah, sure. Evening school is a result of way back in 2004. I was filming at 5 o'clock in the morning on the streets in Chennai, and we came across a group of homeless people that had set up their houses like lean-tos out of whatever they could find.
Sticks and tarp and...
Yeah, next to the river, between the road and the river. Well, the river had flooded and washed away their houses. So they were sleeping on the sidewalk. And I followed one of the guys around as he was picking trash. That's what he did. He went around all the trash piles in the city and pulled out recyclables, and then he'd go sell that for $1 or $3 and feed the family for the day. And so I asked them, what is your greatest request? And I was thinking like spoons or pots or, cooking utensils.
Something for a house or...
Yeah. And the thing that they asked for is, he says, can we have education for our kids? Our kids are not learning at the schools. And then I asked him, do they go to school? Yes, but they go to school, but they're told to sit in the back because they're outcast. They don't learn anything. The teacher doesn't bother to, sometimes the teacher doesn't show up. Sometimes he's sit in the front and just read his book to himself. It's just not a good environment. And so we've done a lot of study, and we found that the three biggest challenges that kids face is, number one, nutrition. Getting enough food to mature and have their brain function properly. Number two is getting an education. But number three is the religion. Because the religion actually keeps them in their caste. It keeps them, so if they were born to somebody that picks up trash, that's all they can be.
Ever.
Yeah. So if we teach them a different religion, a different mindset that gives them permission to do better, to learn, to grow, it gives them value. It gives them a value of who they are as a human being. We take that for granted, this whole thing of all men are created equal, equal rights, all that kind of stuff. That is a purely Christian concept.
Yeah.
And so we came up with the idea of, actually, our in-country director came up with the idea of, let's provide an evening school where they can go to the regular school during the day, but in the evening they get free tutoring, so more coaching, of what they're learning. They're reading, writing, arithmetic.
Tutoring.
Yeah. And then our favorite part
is giving them worship where they learn about Jesus, and then food.
Yes.
We get to feed them.
Yes. So that was back in 2006, I think we started our first one. And now we have over 40 evening schools. And we feed an estimated of about 1,500 kids per night. Yep.
And it's awesome.
It's so awesome. And how much does it cost to feed a child?
Well, it's about $7 a month
per child.
For them. Yeah, for each child.
Wow.
And that does include the salaries of the teacher and the principal and having the school there and providing the food. Costs are rising a little bit. We're hoping we can keep it at that, but that's what it is right now. It's what it's been for quite some time, actually. So that works out to about $0.25 per day, which is astonishing, actually. And it's been such a huge blessing. And that's one of the reasons we love to tell these stories.
Yes. It affects not only the kids, but it affects the family and the entire community. It's long-term evangelism, because we can come in and do an evangelistic series and call for a decision. That might be a week or 2 weeks evangelistic series. But these evening schools are 6 days a week, 52 weeks per year, year after year after year. And so the kids, start young and grow up through their childhood and teenage years. When they get out, they become leaders in the community. They get good jobs. The whole village comes up, and that's only the baseline of what these evening schools do.
Yeah, because it makes a difference in lives.
Yeah.
It really does. And that's one of our stories today.
Yes.
It shows the power of God. It's a story of redemption. It's a story of growth. And so that's why I'm so excited about this story.
Okay.
We have a video.
Yep.
The young man that we'll be seeing, his name is Manoj, and I'm excited to let him tell his story.
Okay.
Manoj. My name is Manoj. I am in 5th grade and I'm 10 years old. My father was a really big drunkard. He was always drinking, and because of that, he was also very sick. But then I learned how to pray.
Even though I came from a Hindu family, I had a little bit of belief in Christianity. But since my husband was Hindu, I continued worshiping the gods at the Hindu temples. Then, 11 years ago, my oldest son fell into a canal and died. I was heartbroken. That is when I started thinking, I've been worshiping all these gods and going to temples, but none of the gods helped my son. Then I remembered a lady from the Seventh-day Adventist Church that told me to not believe in idols, but to believe in Jesus. She told me to believe only Him and to pray to Him. I thought, oh, that sister told me, but I never believed her. I never accepted Jesus or went to church. Now I have lost my son. Why should I worship these Hindu gods anymore? So I gave up everything. I threw out all the idols in our home and went to the church. I prayed to Jesus and He started healing me and consoling me in the deep sorrow that I was in. I attended church for several years and then I got baptized. My husband was a drunkard for 12 years. What would happen is he would get fully drunk and not know what he was doing. He would come home and beat me and the children. But then in the morning he would ask me, "Why are you crying? What happened?" I would tell him that he beat me the night before, and he would say, "Oh, did I do that?" Our situation was very bad because each day he also used all the money that he earned to drink.
I
was very sick, and I went to many different hospitals, but I did not get better.
It was my teacher, Davy, who came and told me about the evening school. Since then, I have been going every day. I was very happy to hear about Jesus. I learned to sing songs, and I heard many Bible stories and learned memory verses. I also learned how to pray.
When our son went to the evening school, my wife would tell him, "Go and pray for your daddy. Pray that he will give up drinking. Pray that he will be healed and that he will accept Jesus."
I asked my teacher to pray for my father, and each day I would go and pray for him too. Then when I got home, I would tell him what I had learned in the evening school.
After my son started praying for his father, and not only him but also the other children in the evening school, he stopped drinking. He gave it up. He also used to beat us, and there was a lot of fighting in our house. But now things have changed so much.
For more than 4 months, they prayed for me in the evening school at the church. The teacher also came to my house to visit and pray with me. I could feel the difference, and I could see healing in my body. God was answering their prayers. That is when I started to have trust in the Lord. My wife said, "See, God is healing you. It is because of the prayers of our son and the teacher and the other children. You should believe this Jesus. You should be baptized." So it was because of my wife that I was baptized, and I'm feeling even better. And now, wherever I go and in whatever I do, I only pray to Jesus. I don't believe any other gods. I only believe Jesus Christ, my Savior.
After my father accepted Jesus Christ, God gave him healing, and he is completely changed now. He's not drinking, and he doesn't have any more pain in his stomach. He's a very good father now, and I am so happy to be at home with him.
Isn't that powerful?
That's beautiful. The ability of God to change a life,
Yeah.
To bring healing physically, but also spiritually.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
And to think that these little Hindu kids are praying for their families and God's hearing them
Yeah.
and doing miracles.
Yep.
So amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. And this school is special because when we visited there the first time, before it was an evening school, it was just a church.
Yeah.
And we looked at the place and we thought this would be a good place for an evening school, but we need to build a kitchen, we need to build a toilet, we need to build a fence and put lights on the church and bring in electricity in. So we said, let's go home and tell people about it, raise some funds, and then we'll send money over to, build those things that we need, and then we'll start the school.
Yeah.
And the next evening,
Yeah.
our Bible worker heard some knocking at the door.
Yep.
Went and opened the door, and there's 45 kids saying, "We heard you're starting an evening school. Can we do an evening school?"
Yeah. So they had to start before the kitchen,
Yeah.
and they had to walk with the food like
Yeah.
a kilometer,
Uh-huh.
pushing it in a push cart so that they could feed the children
Yeah.
while we were fundraising for the kitchen and the bathroom and
Right.
stuff that the church needed.
Yeah. So
So-
this is one of the stories that have come out of that amazing miracle
Yeah.
story of them opening and stuff.
Yeah. So it's really neat too to see the changes in the children in their attitudes, and I believe the mother talks about that in our next video along with a few other things.
Okay.
ரொம்ப ஹாப்பி குழந்தைங்க நல்லா ஒரு
I am so happy that this evening school started because the children are learning about Jesus. I am also thankful that they are getting good food there because at home we often don't have food in the evening.
நல்லா படிக்கிற ஒரு மைண்ட் வருது.
My son is able to study well now, and he drew those pictures on the wall. They are pictures of Jesus. He really loves Jesus.
ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. அவன் வந்து அம்மாவை
I've seen a lot of changes in his character. He is very obedient now. People in the village also comment about how obedient and respectful he is now. I'm so happy because of these changes. My youngest son is very naughty right now, but I am praying, and I know that as he grows up in the church and going to the evening school, he will also change. I am completely satisfied now because of the evening school. I can see a lot of changes in myself and my husband since we became Christians. The people in our village have noticed too. They say, "See, she became a Christian, and since then she's very happy. Her husband has given up drinking. His character is changed. He is working. Her children are very happy, and now she bought a cow, and the cow has given her 2 calves. God is really blessing her since she became a Christian. My only hope for my future is to have this faith and this peace in my family. That is more than enough."
முழு குடும்பமும் மனசார என் குழந்தை இந்த படிக்கிறா 5வது படிக்கிறான்.
One time last year, my son Manoj had dengue fever. Because of that, his platelets were decreasing and getting very low. I took him to the Udumal Pet Government Hospital, but the doctors gave up. They said, "His platelets are really coming down. You need to rush him to the government hospital in Coimbatore." So they booked an ambulance, but before we left, Manoj kept asking me for the Bible. I had brought it with me, but I couldn't read it, so he read it. He encouraged me and said, "Don't worry, Mom. God will save me. God will heal me." Then they put my son in the ambulance, and as we were going to Coimbatore Hospital, I was praying and he was praying. I thought to myself, "Oh Lord, I don't know anything. I am uneducated, but I want my son to be completely healed. Please cure him, O Father. If you are the real God, I have faith in you." When we got to the hospital, the doctors came and saw him and took a blood test. They found that his blood count had really increased. The doctor said, "Why did you bring him in the ambulance? He's okay. He's normal. He only has a fever. His blood count is good now." When I heard that, I was so happy. My son's faith was strengthened too. Then we started praying and thanking the Lord. After a few days in the hospital, we came back home. I was so happy because I thought that I might not bring my son back alive. God healed him completely. He did a miracle in my son's life.
Someday I want to be a doctor. I'm so happy knowing Jesus. I'm also really happy because he has answered my prayer and healed my father.
God is so good.
So good.
Such a beautiful story.
Yes.
You know, not only did God heal his father physically and from alcohol, but he also healed him from dengue fever. And it's just changing his character. I mean, just so many blessings. And it's really neat that she's focused, his mother is focused so much on, I want this, what I have with Jesus in our hearts,
Yes.
in our lives. She's not focused on, Jesus is healing us all the time. We're never going to get sick or we're going to be wealthy. You know, she's not focused on that, but she's focused on the peace and the, you know, the blessings that Jesus has brought, the peace.
Yeah, there's sometimes that, you know, operating the ministry is very stressful. And you sometimes wonder, it's like, are we really doing anything? And it's stories like this that make me think, well, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely God is in charge.
Yeah.
And he makes it worth it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So now we want to talk about a place where they would like to have an evening school.
Yes.
Okay, and you visited this place. Would you like to take us through? I know you've put in a few photos. So would you like to share with us what these photos are?
Yeah, so this is Western Gujarat,
Okay.
and it's very deserty. And driving through that place, I thought, man, who would want to live here? We met a pastor, and while we were interviewing him, he talked about these people that were uneducated, that were like gypsies, migrant workers. They would pick field cotton.
Like that.
So they go from place to place based on where the crops were and where the
work
labor
was.
Yeah, so
Okay.
cotton picking and different things like that. And so I couldn't imagine living in a place like that. And so they took us there. Now this is a vision, this is a hope, and this is a dream. And this is what we do a lot. This is what we get a lot, is people coming to us and saying, hey, here's a need. Is there a way that we can fill the need?
Right.
And a lot of times our hearts are just up in our throats thinking we would love to fill the need, but we're not wealthy people. We don't have extra money lying around. And so what we do is we advocate. We bring the stories back to viewers and people that we know and say, hey, here's a genuine need. And would you like to become a part of it? And I think it's a beautiful divine co-partnership between our friends, between people like us that want to see the gospel go to the world. But the idea of us leaving our culture and moving there and ministering to a group like this is a lot of hurdles.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were there, we visited that group of people for a short time, and they said, we need to go because we can attract attention.
Right.
Okay, just us showing up attracts attention.
Right.
Unwanted attention.
Yeah.
But the local pastor, local Bible workers, they don't draw attention. They can mingle, they can blend, they can live there, and it feels normal to them.
Right. They speak the language.
Yes.
They eat the same food
Yes.
without discomfort.
Right. And
A
they
lot
don't,
of things. They know how the people live.
and it doesn't take an airplane ticket to fly there, and it doesn't take a visa to live there. And so it just makes a lot of sense. So they took us to this place. We were only able to spend a few minutes there before we had to leave. But I was just shocked at the kind of life the people live. I don't understand how they do it.
Yeah.
I know this is going to say this in the video, but it's just shocking to meet a group of people that the kids and the parents don't read and write.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
has education.
And so really, if you think about it, how would somebody like me be able to serve or even connect, even contact, even meet people like that?
No.
It's like you'll never meet somebody like that in your entire life unless you're intentional to go out of your way.
Yeah.
And so this was, I think, a huge honor to meet these people. Now, Christ died for these people, just like he died for us.
Yeah.
And so he values them. And I can only imagine someday when they're waking up and look into the sky and see Jesus
Yeah.
and recognize him, and he takes them to heaven. What's the look on their faces going to be?
Right.
I really want to be there.
Right. So we have a short video from there because you were only there a short time.
Yes.
But let's go ahead and watch that now.
Okay.
Yeah, there are people, those who are laboring.
In this area, there are groups of very poor people who have a really difficult life. They work in the cotton fields or peanut fields, and they move around depending on where they can get work. They don't have homes, they just live in makeshift tents. They are illiterate, and most of them cannot even count or do basic arithmetic. Many of them cannot read the bus route signs, so they have to ask other people where the bus is going. When they buy something, they will just hand the seller some money and take whatever the seller gives back for the change. Their main goal is just to work so they can have food. They live close to the fields where they work, but the schools are far away, and transportation isn't feasible. As a result, the children do not go to school. They start working to help their parents from a young age. When I go to visit these people, the parents say, if our kids can have education, then they can have a better life. I want to start a small evening school program to help this community. I would like to do about 2 hours of class in the evenings to help them in the practical aspects of life, things like reading and writing and basic arithmetic. But more importantly, we will teach Bible stories and teach them how to pray to the living God. Our goal is not just to provide education, but also to show compassion by ministering to their needs like Jesus did. Coming directly to them and preaching will not work well, but education is a way to help them understand life better and learn about the Bible. Several years ago, I did a similar evening school program, and I would always pray before teaching. Many of the students were surprised that I would just simply pray like that. They said when we pray, we have to light a candle and do a ritual and offer things to our gods to please them. So even the simple act of praying can open opportunities to share about the true God. We also want to provide a meal for the children because they do not get good nutrition. Sometimes the parents will just cook chapati and they will eat it with tea and milk. So providing food with good nutrition will help the children a lot. If we don't help this community, the children will grow up uneducated just like their parents, and future generations will remain uneducated.
Precious children. And so we have a huge desire to see that evening school come to pass.
Yeah, it makes such a difference. You know, like he was talking about what their food is. You know, in our evening schools, we make sure they have rice, we make sure they have vegetables, and they have to eat their vegetables.
Yes.
That's something from the very beginning. It's like the kids don't get to skip the vegetables.
That's right.
And just shove them aside. They have to eat them also. And so they get more nutrition, and that makes it easier for them to learn, because that's another thing that we've read nutritional studies where if you're malnourished or you don't have enough nutrients, then you can't learn.
Yeah,
it affects your brain.
We've seen this in some of our other places, like in Mindoro. These kids were having a real hard time learning, and they wouldn't have lunch. They maybe have a little bit of breakfast, and then they were hoping for a dinner. And so the teacher would go home to cook, and the kids would just stare at him. They were just so hungry. And actually 2 to 3 kids per year would die from malnutritional issues, complications. And so when we started the feeding program up there, immediately no more kids started dying.
Yeah.
And the kids started to be able to learn so well. And the transformation in those kids was amazing, from these dirty, snot running down their nose kids to...
Yeah, with a bunch of eye problems. They all had like eye problems also.
Yeah.
That was really, really obvious when we went there.
Yeah. And now they're clean and they're bright and their eyes shine. It's just amazing. And so I just really, really, really want the same thing for these kids up there in Gujarat.
Yeah, it'll be a challenge because of the nomadic lifestyle that they tend to live. But
if you have a pastor like that cares about it, that's all you need.
Yeah.
You just enable
and
him,
he'll just go,
give him the resources, he'll organize it, because he has a heart for the people.
Yeah.
If you find somebody that has a heart for money and wants to do this to earn money, then it's not going to work.
No.
But if you have somebody that has initiative and has a passion and wants to help the people, God can really work through him.
Yeah, and I would like to invite you to pray for these people, for these dear children in the evening schools, for Manoj and his family to continue to learn more about Jesus. I'm so grateful to God that they are baptized and going to church and learning more. And pray for that to spread in their village, for more children to have that opportunity, for more families to see, as his mother was saying, the difference that God has made in their lives, that knowing about Jesus has made in their lives. And please pray for these people up in the north in Gujarat, that they can have a school for their children and that they can learn not only the regular education, the language, the math, those things that they need for their daily lives, but that they can learn what they need for eternity, to learn about the God who loves them. And if you would like to learn more about these projects, please contact us at Jesus for Asia, P.O. Box 1221, Collegedale, Tennessee, 37315. Call us at 423-413-7321 or visit our website at jesusforasia.org. May God richly bless you until we see you next time on Jesus for Asia Now.